One of the most time-consuming things we do as teachers is grade. So how can we create a system that is straightforward, simple for all students, and still communicates the expectation? One tool that I would recommend using in your classroom is a rubric. I've seen rubrics done at a first grade level all the way up until I did my graduate degree. And before I turned in an assignment, I always made sure to double check the rubric. Now, your younger students are going to need help with how to double check and how to use a rubric. So I'm actually going to walk you through how to set up using a rubric and then also a resource on how to start downloading rubrics and having them ready for your classroom. Rubrics are great because the students have something in front of them while they are doing the assignment that tells them exactly what you are looking for. That way, if you also have parents that always have questions about grades, they can look at the rubric as well. If I was using a rubric, was try to find a way for my students to model whatever their project or assignment was in front of the class, and that way I can grade it as they are doing that. I've had students present their book reports. I've had students present the branches of government. I've had students read out loud a writing project, whatever it may be. It's always great to have them present their assignment, and then we can also get those listening and speaking standards in there as well. So the first step we are going to focus on is how do we present the rubric to our students? So we are going to, of course, explain. Today we are going to look at my expectation for your book report. You are going to then have some type of an example, whether it be a student example or an example you created. Obviously, if you're a first-year teacher, you're not going to have student examples. Sometimes a veteran teacher will have a student example you can borrow, which is really helpful. But you always want to have some type of example. So you are going to show the students the example, and then you are going to point out why this example is exceptional. So using the rubric. So you're going to say, notice how this book report has the title. You will see on the rubric that I am expecting a title. The nice thing about things like this is for a title, they either get 0 points or full points. You don't have to have any in between, right? And then you are going to go through the rubric with your class. You need to have a setting. You need to explain where the setting is. Let's look at the student or teacher example of setting, and you're going to read it out loud to the students. If you really want to get in depth with this, you could always have a exceptional example and a non-exceptional example. And I would have my students compare them. What is the difference between these two? Why is this one showing mastery of this skill? And why is this one not? You can even do this with math. So sometimes I would block out my student's name on the papers because I'm not doing this in any way to embarrass them. And you will show them this was one example of a math assignment I got, and this was another example of a math assignment I got. What is the difference between the two? And what would you guys think of each of them? So this also helps them start to recognize what is expected for assignments in your classroom. So after you go through the entire rubric, of course, you're going to ask students if they have questions or concerns or anything like that. So now they know what is expected. If you use Google Classroom, you can have that rubric in your Google Classroom, and that way students always have it. There's no excuse that they lost it, their dog ate it, whatever it may be, it is on Google Classroom. And then you can also grade it on Google Classroom. So again, parents can see it, the students can see it, and it never is getting lost. So let's look at if I want to create a rubric. I used a program called Rubistar. It's rubistar4teachers.org. And down here we have many options to choose from. Let's pretend I am doing an oral project. I'm going to click on that. And let's say I'm having them make a poster. And as we can see, there are many options to choose from. So I'm just going to click on making a poster. And then I'm going to fill these in. The nice thing about this is a lot of the categories are already filled out for you, so I would still read through these and make sure that this is what you are expecting, and sometimes I would change things around a little bit or add. If I have elements that I want to include on any project, I need to also make sure my students are aware of what those elements are. And then I can look through my options. Let's say I want a title. I just put title here, no title present. Title is shown. And all of these are completely up to you. So let's say I'm happy with this. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to hit submit. And here is my rubric, and then I can go ahead and print that out. So print or download. And again, I would just read through this just to make sure that everything looks good and you don't have any mistakes. So once I do all that, I am happy with my rubric. I print it out, I hand it out to my students, or we have it in Google Classroom and I download it as an image, and we go through step by step what I am expecting. The nice thing about rubrics is the students know it's not this imaginary grade that I made up. So I would go through the rubric if I'm doing a paper rubric, and I would highlight what they got for each section. You can write feedback if you choose, you don't have to, but that way they know. So this is their grade and this is why they got that grade. And that's how I did most of my grading, to make it as simple as possible. So that way all students are on board and it's all the same. If you are looking for a way to cut down how long it takes you to lesson plan, you're looking for something very simple, check out my next video on how I sit down, I kind of talk to you, and I work through how to create a lesson plan that's really straightforward and is not going to take a very long time, because as teachers, we don't have multiple hours to lesson plan for one lesson. Well, thank you for watching my video, and I hope you have a beautiful day.